So hello, welcome to Astrophotography question time, where you guys get to ask our panel of experts your astro questions. I can see on the Astrobiscuit, on the Big Amateur Telescope YouTube channel, we have 3 people currently listening. Woo! And the audience of... Oh, hold on. The audience is getting mega. Bloody hell, look at that. 50. We're at 50 now. And, 50. Awesome. It's going up. Probably I should do the intro again. I'm going to do the intro again because we've got... Oh, some people are leaving. They're getting bored. They're like, no, we don't want the intro again. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to Astrophotography question time, where me, your host, and 4 expert panellists get to answer your astrophotography questions. And this week we have 4 panelists from our server. I think. Oh gosh, people are making my computer go beep. I think this is. In all honesty, this is a little bit of a practice. The next one we do, which is happening next month, we'll do it once every month, is going to be on my big YouTube channel, and we can probably expect, I don't know, 500, 600 people to be listening on YouTube while we do this. And we're nearly at 70 in the Discord server already, which is exciting. So let's just kick off by introducing our 4 panelists. So, Chai, come and say hello and tell me how to pronounce your name properly.
Chi.
Cheese
without the E's.
Okay, and where are you from?
So I'm in New Zealand. It's not the accenty. And I've been doing astro for 2 years now.
2 years, and you're one of our mega nerds. And last time we did this, I asked folks what their favourite pudding was, which caused all sorts of problems because pudding in the UK means something different to what it does in America. It really confused our American friends, actually. But I'm going to go for biscuits this time. What's your favourite kind of biscuit?
You know those like pink ones with the sprinkles? Those are great.
Pink ones with the sprinkles. It's
I
like
call them pink biscuits, but they're probably
Okay, very good. I think I know what you mean, but I don't know about the sprinkles. I know pink ones with little white lines sort of waving across. But
not quite those ones.
Nearly those ones. Okay, I got you. I got to say I'm not a big fan of those ones because they're not good for dunking in tea. All right, thank you, Chi. Leo, tell us who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been doing. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I'm from Germany. I'm doing astrophotography for around, I think, 1 year now. And my favorite biscuit is like everything from Italy. Like I love their biscuits.
You love Italian biscuits.
Yeah.
Are they're kind of like fancy ones? Like you get the sort of like a tube. Is that one of the Italian ones? That's kind of. It's like.
Yeah, like a lot of them are like salty and pretty hard, so you can also dunk them in tea or coffee.
You can dunk them in tea. That is absolutely wins you brownie points on this channel. And you're actually, so you've been doing this for a year, so you've done incredibly well to be up on the panel this early on. So good on you. Eagle, please tell us who you are, where you're from, what your specialism is.
I'm the oddball of this group. I'm Eagle. I'm from Western North Carolina, and I've been doing visual astronomy for the last few years. It's been quite a ride. And here in America, biscuits are slightly different, but any big, flaky biscuit from a restaurant like Bojangles or Homemade or just about anything are good, especially if it's like biscuits and gravy. But in terms of biscuits, like y'all know them, I can't really think of any. That's all good.
Oh dear. That is not a good answer at all. The biscuit is frowning upon you. I am being slightly cheeky because I used to work on a traveling carnival for one summer holiday in California, and every morning I had biscuits and gravy. And basically your biscuits are they're like what we call a scone, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a bit of a cheeky question. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and yeah, good luck answering the astrophotography questions. Hopefully, we've got some visual questions, in which case you'll be able to teach us all about it. And last but not least, Maria, hello. Where are you? Who are you, and where are you from? Hello, Maria.
And I've been.
Oh, sorry, Maria. You cut out. I think on the your first few words cut out. Do you mind starting again?
I'm from Manchester, and is that better? Hello.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah, I've been astrophotographing for about, I think now maybe 2 years, and yeah, it's great fun. And my favorite biscuit is. I think a very common one in the UK, a jammy dodger. Hopefully that doesn't confuse too many people what that is.
Jammy dodger, good choice. Excellent. Alrighty, so let's have our first question. Toaster, are you going to chuck someone up with a question, or shall I go to the audience and pick them out? I'm going to go to the audience and... Oh, here we go. Gyro Realm, hello, welcome to the stage. So, where are you from? And
I'm from the United States.
Excellent. So I can ask you the difficult question of what your favourite biscuit is. Go on.
Oh, my favorite biscuit? All right, so in America,
Yeah.
typically biscuits that they sell are like kind of like bread, but they're like flaky and have layers. And they have these kind that they sell at all the grocery stores. You just pop them in the oven for like 20 minutes. You can eat them with anything. They're super good.
Do you have anything in America that you could potentially dunk in a cup of tea and eat? Like a flat, what I would call a biscuit.
Okay, so in America, really most of the tea is just sweet black tea. You just drink it with lots of sugar, yeah.
Oh no!
We don't really drink hot tea here.
Oh no! All right, well let's move on and get please ask your question.
Okay, so my question is that at certain light pollution levels, right? It's going to be harder to see things when there's more light pollution. But is there a specific cutoff point for certain apparent magnitude? For certain Bortle levels, like if I'm in a Bortle 7, are there certain things I shouldn't even try shooting because they're too dark?
Okay, well let's go for this. This is actually sort of spreads across astrophotography and visual, I reckon. So, Che, what do you reckon?
For most things, you can get everything under like a Bortle 4-ish. Obviously, as you increase in Bortle, it gets worse and worse. But only in the sense that the gradients and the shot noise is worse. So you can, in theory, do anything from any portal, but it will just take an unreasonable amount of time. So it's kind of just a case of experimenting with your gear and your patience and seeing what the faintest thing you can see in your images are, and then kind of going from there, is what I'd say.
Cool. Good answer. So you can shoot anything, but you need patience, and the higher your Bortle, the more patience you need, essentially. Leo, how about you? Anything to add?
Yeah, I would say like narrowband is a different topic because you can like some dark nebulae are really difficult in the city, but I think narrowband is pretty easy in the city with some good filters.
Yeah, absolutely. I live right in London, and narrowband is still awesome, even from my roof in London. Anything else to add? I mean, good point. Anything else to add before we head down to Eagle? Hello? Okay, Eagle. What about visual? How's Bortle affecting visual stuff?
Since you're actually trying to look at the stuff with your own eyeballs, what the thing you have to really consider is the limiting magnitude. So you can kind of determine that with your eyes, like look up like the stars in a constellation and see how dim you can spot with your eyes, and then you can also with the Bortle scale or the sky quality measurements that you can find from those light pollution maps, they will tell you your limiting magnitude, like telescopically, because of course with larger apertures you'll see more. Like even with just binoculars, you'll see more. And with the surface brightness of an object, like some newcomers to astronomy will try to point their new little telescope at like the Pinwheel and Messier 101 galaxy, and they're like, I can't see anything. But because even though it has like a magnitude of like 4 in like their star app or whatever, but really the surface brightness is what's important for that, because it's M101 again is so spread out that even if it's magnitude 4, it's spread out across however big it is across the sky. It's pretty big. And another thing about that little note I like to finish with about the Bortle scale is it's not like a very set in stone system. It's more of a thing you kind of gauge based on how transparent your skies are that night, what directions you're facing, everything like that. Because usually the Bortle reading you get with the map is going to be zenith sky brightness, and it can be worse closer to the horizon.
Okay, interesting. I actually want to just ask you a particular question. I live in London, right? Is there any point in me using filters like I would for imaging narrowband to view objects? Like, are there...
I'm not very experienced with using filters. I think the only real filter you could use in London is called the gasoline filter, and that's where you just drive to a darker site. But for the most part, those light pollution filters are more effective against like the sodium sort of streetlights, and less so the modern LED lights. So yeah, from a city, you're really limited to like double stars, some star clusters. Anything that's not really wispy and hazy, you might have a chance to see.
I mean, to be fair, I can see Orion okay. So that's quite interesting.
Orion's just the best thing.
Yeah.
You can have like UHC filters for visual use, which include oxygen and H beta, which help a lot.
Okay, yeah. And Maria, anything to add to this, or have we covered it? Do you think?
Yeah, I think you've all covered it. A certain, in my view, like a certain aspect of it. I guess I'd like to understand the question a bit more. If it was more of from the astrophotography perspective.
I think it was actually, yes.
So yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about if the sky is polluted or very bright, then really your pick of magnitude is probably also going to come down to a factor of like how fast your optics are, which will then which will drive some of how much light you can capture, and also you'll have to somehow strike a balance between your exposure times, because that's going to affect that's going to increase the amount of noise that you get. So I think targeting looking for targets that are maybe from mag 10 and brighter is probably a good bet in a fairly light polluted sky. When you sort of layer on filters, that becomes a lot better. You can probably get something a lot dimmer, but it just means you need to spend more time on capturing more frames, and collecting more integration time. I think that's my perspective.
Cool, thanks, Maria. Gyra Realm, are you happy with that? Have we answered your question?
Those are some great answers. Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you for asking. And let's have our next questioner up, actually. Let's get people lined up, in fact, today. Nether Star. Excellent. Where are you from, Nether Star?
Yes, hello. I'm from Germany.
All right. Whereabouts in Germany?
I'm from Bavaria.
Awesome. And how long have you been into astro?
Well, I think 1 year now already, since Corona started. I got myself a telescope and such, and I've been getting really interested into astrophotography now.
Awesome. So please go ahead, ask us your question.
So my question would be, what do you like doing more? The really wide field nebula or the really zoomed in deep sky objects?
Alrighty, good question. Maria, do you want to kick us off on this one?
I think my favorite stuff is sort of halfway between the two, I guess. Somewhere around 800 mil, 700, 800, 900 mil, which is sort of sort of really close up in some nebula and some of the smaller nebula, but also gives me the opportunity to get some of the bigger galaxies and even groups of galaxies. It means that you can sort of optimize to maybe one scope and not have to spend extra money on having more than one and more than one mount. So yeah, that's my sweet spot at the minute.
So what kind of focal length are you at?
Currently, I'm at 800, and that's what I'm using now on my Newtonian, and I'm quite enjoying it actually.
Awesome, excellent. Leo, let's go to you next.
Yeah, so I think my favorite targets are the really zoomed in ones, because the wide field is so often photographed. I feel like it's blending in with all the other photos, especially if you go like on Instagram or something like this. You don't really pop out, but if you have like some stuff nobody ever photographed before really zoomed in, I think that's always interesting to view, and you can look at the picture longer because there's so much new stuff you didn't see before.
So what kind of focal length are you imaging at?
At the moment I'm at 1200 millimeters and 600, because I like both, but I really love 1200.
Awesome. All right. And Chi, how about you?
I'm a sucker for the wide field. So my first telescope in quotation marks was the Samyang 135 f2, and I love that. And also being in the southern hemisphere, it's quite nice doing wide field on regions that no one shoots because there's no one down here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say, because I remember a guy on this server called Zaf, short for Zaphod Breeblebrox. It's not his real name, but he showed me Essa Carina, right, which is just your enormous... It's the equivalent of Orion, I guess. And I was like, it was just totally new for me, and it was a real treat seeing it. And then I found out how blooming massive it was, and I couldn't believe that I didn't really know it that well. So you are lucky being able to... what I love doing is actually... in London is getting my hydrogen alpha filter on and just sweeping around and just looking at stuff, live, and seeing things that I don't really know what they are. And it must be so nice being in the southern hemisphere doing that and actually knowing that probably not that many people have photographed what you're looking at. Yeah.
So it still has you still have the lots of targets in the width, but this also has the uniqueness that someone touched on before.
Yeah. And also it's worth remembering that it's very hard to get a resolution of greater than 1 arcsecond per pixel anyway. So quite often people are zooming in on targets and they're not actually getting more resolution than some of the wider field targets, with 1 arcsecond per pixel, you can do a bit to help count. That's the blurriness caused by the atmosphere, essentially. You can do a bit with wavelets and whatever to sharpen it up, but people who are zoomed in aren't getting that much more resolution than some of those really nice, crisp, detailed wide field shots. Anyway, Eagle, I'm curious to know what your take on visual. What kind of targets do you like?
Any clear night with any target's a good night, but I find myself liking the using one of my lower power eyepieces in my Dobsonian, just because you can usually, it helps you find your object faster with a wider field of view, but you don't always have to magnify more if you don't want to. So you can, one time I was looking at Messier 27, the Dumbbell Nebula, and then with my wider field eyepiece in there, I just kind of bumped it around a little bit, and there's looked at a couple of clusters that are in a chain with M27, and it's like, oh, that's really nice. I never knew this was out here until I started to look for, neighboring BSI objects near, the Dumbbell Nebula. Although higher magnification is fun sometimes, you can, if the atmosphere is good, you can go and look at. You can sometimes get a little bit of detail out of some galaxies. You can really see the granularity and detail in globular clusters, and maybe you can see a companion of a globular cluster or something, or a companion galaxy to another galaxy, or just see those things that are just on the verge of invisibility to your eyeball.
Do you with a wide field eyepiece? Is it a bit more sensitive? You're getting a bit more light in, are you? Are you able to see fainter things, or not really?
I'm not an expert in optics, but maybe.
Okay,
I
cool.
just, I see what you mean though, and sometimes I mean, it's nowhere near as immersive as binoculars, but it's definitely a lot of fun to just sweep around with a wide field eyepiece.
Cool. Does that answer your question, Netherstar?
Yes, very well.
And what's your favourite?
Well, I would say I'm the long focal length guy. Like these colliding galaxies and such just have something really nice about them.
Yeah, they are a favourite. All right, thank you very much, sir. Let us get someone else up. I am inviting that guy. Oh, have we got... Yeah, I just invited you up. By the way, Toaster, if you want to line up the next person as well, they can pop up on the stage so we can go straight to him. Hey, that guy, how you doing?
Good, are you?
I'm good, and whereabouts are you calling from?
Dorset.
Dorset. Okay, I'm expecting a good answer on this one. Being as you're UK based, what is your favourite biscuit?
Either bourbons or my homemade ones.
Your homemade ones, I expect, are amazing. Excellent. And bourbon's good too. And whereabouts, and how long have you been into astro?
I think about a year and a half now.
Awesome. Yeah, and go ahead. Let's hear your question, please.
So I was just wondering if you have any tips for using binoculars for astronomy, and do you have any to recommend?
Okay, well, let us go straight to Eagle on this one. I have something to say about it as well, but yeah, Eagle, yeah, well, you did just say binoculars, so yeah, and I'm all ears on this one as well. This is a great question. Because actually, before you jump in, the reason why it's a great question for me is because once I've got all my clobber sorted out, right, and I'm taking pictures of whatever, I've got a bit of time twiddling my thumbs, and I've actually bought some binoculars thinking that I'm going to be able to do a bit of visual while I'm photographing. So yeah, please go ahead.
Well, I'm by no means a binocular astronomy expert, but I have seen a thing or two in the binoculars I have. I've used a couple of different pairs over the years. I started off my very first astro equipment that I didn't have to buy. My family just had an old pair of 10 by 50 binoculars laying around the house. And since I live under fairly dark skies, one night, well, this doesn't require dark skies, but I remember going outside one winter night in 2017 when I was just getting started in amateur astronomy, and I went outside and looked underneath Orion's belt, and everyone knows underneath Orion's belt is his sword, and one of the parts of that sword is the Orion Nebula. And I remember just sweeping, the binoculars towards the belt, and I saw the nebula just sitting there, glowing faintly against the cosmic backdrop of stars, and it was just incredible. Just a fuzzy little thing that was like, hey, that's not a star or the moon. That's something different. That's something else. It's beyond what I've seen before, and that just got me hooked on amateur astronomy, I'd say. So with binoculars, the rule of thumb, the kind of thing that's tossed around whenever people recommend binoculars for amateur astronomy, 10 by 50 or 7 by 50 is about the sweet spot between size, magnification, and aperture, because if you get ones that are smaller, you might not see as much, but you might have a nice wider field of view. If you get ones that are bigger, you'll need a tripod. Those can be a lot of fun, though. So 10 by 50, 7 by 50, those are about the ones you want to go for. If you do have a tripod or a way to brace them against a wall or something steady outside, or my favorite way to do it is to set out a old wool blanket or a tarp or something on the grass in my yard and just look straight up, see what I can see. It's just wonderful because binoculars will now allow a more immersive experience than squinting through an eyepiece. I mean, yeah, there's bino viewers, but those are expensive. And the things you can see, which is what you're always interested in, Obviously, like any old thing with astronomy, darker skies are better. Less of those around nowadays, but maybe things will change because luckily that's a problem that can be solved at the speed of light. Anyways, what you can see up there, most of what you're going to want to look at are open clusters and large bright targets. Things like the Andromeda Galaxy, the double cluster in Perseus, that's just full of stars. That thing's awesome. The Pleiades, of course. The Pleiades are just meant for binoculars. The Orion Nebula, of course, and just a whole bunch of other open clusters. And with more time and experience, since visual astronomy is a lot more of a knowledge and experience-based hobby, you'll start to find more things and know how to find more things, including like double stars even.
So just a quick question: when you're lying on your back, looking up on your tarp, right? How big are binoculars can you handle in that kind of situation? Is it still 10 by 50? Is that about as big as you can go?
Yeah, that'd be a great size because those are lighter weight. I embrace the shake, and I have 15 by 70s. They're pretty massive, and I'm fine with just laying on my back, looking up. Never going to forget spotting the Gulf of Mexico feature in the North American Nebula last month, just on a really clear, really dark night.
Cool. All right. Sorry. Go.
Once you go to darker skies, and maybe if you get some slightly larger binoculars at some point, the sky is yours. I mean, one night I saw the bare pair of galaxies, Messier 81, 82. I saw M101, all the open clusters in Taurus, M78, the Orion Nebula. Just with darker skies and binoculars, you can have a field day. Night.
And was that 10 by 50s or your 50 by 15?
Those were my big 15 by 70s. I will admit. But most of what I saw that night could have probably been seen in 10 by 50s.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Eagle. Appreciate it. Chi, do you have anything to add?
Well, not really, but there are these really cool binoculars you can get, which are like super, super, super wide field and have like 40-degree field of view. That for like constellations and meteor hunting. So
yeah,
that's your thing. They seem like
those are so cool. There's a few different companies make them, and they're 2x54 binoculars. So they're just
So
I wish I had them this summer.
They magnify by like double, so almost no magnification, but you're getting a lot more light into your eyeball, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. So they're good for meteor showers and stuff, and like dark skies. So.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I did. I think I borrowed some for a bit, but they weren't that great in London. I needed to go somewhere dark. Maria, how about you? Any thoughts on binos?
Well, no, I think not much in terms of expertise, but I guess I'd say to anyone listening who's not actually gone outside with a pair of binoculars, definitely do it. Right? It's amazing. It's really immersive, and you don't have to go out and buy anything really special. If you've got something to hand, then just use those and just get a feel for it. Look at some of the bigger targets. I mean, the moon is fantastic to look through binoculars, even in the daytime. So whatever's to hand, if you have a pair of binoculars, just get out there in the night and just have a look around. It's amazing.
I just have to say, actually, that one of my all-time great moments was looking at Andromeda with my 7x50 binoculars. It was right above me. It kind of, you don't see a huge amount. It's just a faint greyness, right? This faint grey oval. But it was enormous, absolutely enormous. And it was right above me. And my knees literally started to wobble because I realised that this blooming massive galaxy was just there, right above me. I think that's the thing when you're doing visual, it's that realizing it's there for real live. You don't get as much detail as with astrophotography, but there's something magic about that. Someone called it witnessing the infinite. I don't know what that means, but it's kind of the sort of vibe that I'm trying to get at. It's like crazy. Yeah. Leo, how about you, sir?
Oh, I think I have no expertise about binoculars, but yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
Try it out.
Yes, fair enough. Do try it out. Okay, we're about 9:30. I see Rogue Reversal's up here, so it would be good to have. He'll be joining us on the panel. Leo, I'm going to drop you back into the audience, if that's okay. And Rogue Reversal's going to take your place. And just if there are any more mega nerds around, we might well get you up and swap some of our panels around. So we better just say, before we say hello to Rogue Reversal, that guy, does that answer your question?
Yeah, could I ask one quick more?
Oh, I don't know that you can, because we've got so many other people. And I've only got half an hour. This is going to carry on, but I've only got half an hour.
About binoculars, you can ping me in the visual channel.
Okay.
Is it about binoculars?
Yeah.
Go on then.
I was just wondering, like, if I didn't have a tripod, like, ignoring, like, money, like, would the 15 by 70s, 7 by 50s, or 10 by 50s be the best?
Without tripod, go for the 10 by 50s.
Cool, thank you, sir. I'm moving you back to the audience. Triple Treble Bubble, you're coming up. Before then, Rogue Reversal, do you want to say hello? Tell us where you're from.
Sure. I'm from the U.S., specifically Texas. Been doing AP for about 5.5 years now.
Excellent. So we've got quite a young, like a lot of our mega nerds up here have been doing it for a couple of years. So you've been doing it for 5 years. So we're expecting some excellent sage advice from you. Whereabouts in Texas are you based?
Houston.
So I've been to Houston. My aunt and uncle live in Houston. Yeah, excellent. So you've got the Space Center and all that going on there. Awesome. And is it worth asking you about biscuits, or being as you're American, do you actually not know what real biscuits? I know that sounds a bit. Go on. I know.
So for Australian friends, my favorite biscuits are actually Tim Tams.
Okay.
I've been to Australia a few times. I have family over there, and every time I just I buy out the grocery stores of all their things.
Tim Tams absolutely slap.
All right. Tim Tams?
They're like chocolate-covered biscuits, and it's phenomenal.
Okay,
you've got your biscuit, then you've got like mousse, and you've got another biscuit, and that whole thing's wrapped in chocolate.
Okay, look, I apologise to everyone who's here for astrophotography, but I am also here to learn about biscuits. I'm just looking them up. Okay, I see. Tim Tam. Oh yeah, they look good. There's like a white, creamy sort of slice along the middle. The whole thing covered in chocolate. There's a picture here of
like a moon pie.
The Boris Johnson is holding a packet of Tim Tams, so obviously he likes them as well. Okay, sorry. As I didn't catch that. Triple Bubble, your time has come. Where are you from, and what is your question?
I'm from India.
Oh, hello.
Hello, yes. And my question is a Bahtninov mask better than an autofocusing cube?
Now, hold on a minute. Are you... So I don't recognise your name, but I think... do you mind me asking, sort of roughly, you don't have to be exact, but roughly how old are you?
I'm 13.
13, right. So were you driving the... have you been driving the community rig from India?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. How was that? So so if people don't know, Astro Consti, who's lives in Bamberg, I hope I got to pronounce it right, in Germany, has set up I think it's an 8-inch Newtonian, which can be remote controlled from anywhere in the world. And Triple Treble Bubble here has, I believe, been controlling it from India. Yeah, just tell us a little bit, how did that go?
I'm actually doing it right now.
What, you're imaging right now on the community rig?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Awesome. So I'm guessing is it live streaming or not? Or
Yes, it is.
All right. So maybe after this. Oh, I see. So above us, community rig live. Oh, right. There you are. And that's you imaging right in the channel right above us. That's exciting. What are you imaging at the moment?
The Elephant Trunk Nebula. I'm trying to get it to autofocus.
Okay. And your question to answer, okay, that brings us nicely onto your question. Do you mind asking your question again?
Yeah. Is a Bahtninov mask better than an autofocusing cube?
All right. And by autofocusing cube, do you mean like a motorized autofocuser thingy?
Yes.
All right. Rogue Reversal, being as you're the new boy on the panel, should we kick off with what you think here?
Sure. So in short, your autofocuser more often than not will always be better, simply because you're using the software that you use with an autofocuser will go through various points along your focus draw tube and can actually mathematically calculate the point of best focus, i.e. Where the stars are the smallest. And based on a couple of sample points, it'll actually fit a mathematical curve to that, and the HFR, or the star size, basically, at which the curve shows as a minimum is your point of best focus. So if you can nail in your autofocuser settings, and then reliably every single time you will hit the point of best focus. And really to sort of extend that, if anyone in the future thinks about running remote operations where you keep your setup in a remote dark sky away from home, an autofocuser then becomes necessary because you can't physically be there to focus by hand every single time, especially if your setup is 2 states or 2 countries over.
Excellent.
So to start out, I did use a Bahtninov mask, and it's very nice. Obviously, it provides a good visual for you to find the focus point of your rig. But as you sort of progress further on in the hobby and you want to automate your setup more, an autofocuser will basically take care of that for you with a higher degree of accuracy than you can by focusing by hand.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Rogue Reversal. Maria, what do you reckon?
Well, okay, so definitely it's using an autofocus mechanical focuser is probably going to be very accurate, but I'd like to give a different perspective, right? So from the perspective of the use case, it might be that your Bahtninov mask is pretty good actually. So in some cases, if you're out there and you just got a portable rig and you don't want to be, taking something that's got, that needs a lot of connectivity in your laptop there, etc., the Bahtninov mask is probably better in that case, right? So if you're doing something wide field, for example, then in that use case, perhaps for you and the time it takes to get everything set up, the Bahtninov mask is just as good sometimes.
Yeah, very good point, I think, actually. I'm gonna just chip in here, if I may. I used a motorized focuser with a C9 1/4, a C9.25, the Celestron one. And there was quite a lot of backlash in the focuser. So what that is the motor would start turning, right? And with the SCTs, you're actually moving the mirror forward and back, and there'd be a little bit of a wait before the mirror actually started moving after the focuser had started turning. So what that ended up meaning was that the autofocusing routine using the expensive autofocuser, mechanical autofocuser, didn't actually quite hit focus accurately. Because it couldn't quite reach the exact point that it needed to because of the backlash. So I'm just throwing that out there, that these autofocusing devices aren't necessarily perfect. I'm sure if you've got a great focuser, then they'll be much better than they would be on my SCT, which has a slightly unusual way of focusing. But and also I agree with Maria. Once you've got an autofocuser fitted to your scope, they're a blooming pain in the ass. You want to put a reducer in or something, and you want to just check your focus on a block of flats in the daytime. Well, you can't, because the blooming autofocuser is locked in, so you have to hook it all up to the computer and fiddle around before you can just just do a simple thing like focusing in and out. So there is a level of pain in the ass factor with the autofocuser, which can make your telescope less usable. But anyway, so yeah. Chi, what do you think?
Another thing is that autofocusers mean you don't have to stay up all night refocusing as your temperature changes or as you drift out of focus. So assuming your autofocuser is good and doesn't like have backlash and it, can actually reach focus and make a curve well, then yeah, they are better, but it just has to be good, I guess.
Eagle, I'm curious to know, do you guys in visual use Bahtninov masks?
If I'm not sure. I mean, there might be someone out there who does. But I don't really have any opinions on either of these, but I'm happy to learn.
And
It's been interesting to hear the answers.
I tell you what, an autofocuser for visual is when you're really going serious on the planets.
I imagine so.
Is really good, especially on my wobbly roof, because my wobbly roof, you step onto it. In fact, when a train goes past my house and I'm on the planets, the Jupiter will shake around. So I can't physically get near the telescope. So an autofocuser is absolutely essential on the planets, I think.
For me, I will say it is nice having a 2-speed focuser for visual. One of the knobs is like the standard focus in and out speed, and the other one is like 1/10 of that. So that does help me when I'm trying to look at the planets, which I don't do all the time, but you have to look at them.
Yeah. Triple trouble bubble. Have we answered your question? Is that
Yes.
what?
Very much.
What do you think? Do you think you want a mechanical autofocuser now? Actually, have you got a telescope? Because you've been using the community rig, haven't you? So, have you got?
I have an F14, which I use for visuals.
Sorry,
I am saving up.
you have a what? Which telescope? I think I interrupted you. I didn't hear. What telescope do you have?
I don't know like the specific brand of it because I got it secondhand, and like what I know is that it's an F14.
Oh, okay.
It's 80mm with a 700mm focal length.
Okay.
I'm currently saving up for a like professional rig, a beast rig.
Okay, awesome. Well, good luck with that, and thank you very much for your question. A great question, and interesting that we have different opinions on it, all of which I think are valid, actually. And I'm going to move you back to the audience. Thank you, and hello, India, and thank you for coming. All right. Wagner, you're here. Are you here as a mega nerd panelist, or do you have a question?
I have a question.
Awesome. Do you want to tell everyone where you're from?
Yes, sure. I'm from Budapest, Hungary, and I image the planets.
All right.
Yes. That's just the introvert definition of myself.
Awesome. Thank you.
Introduce yourself shortly.
Okay. Well, you did it. You did it in like two sentences. Budapest and planets. Very good. And go ahead and ask your question, please.
Okay, so next morning I'll have an ISS transit coming up. It's going to be a lunar transit, and it's going to be illuminated transit. And that doesn't really matter, it just makes it easier to shoot. And my question is, a lot of people use, like they use something that is, they repeatedly capture their shot, like their exposures are really, really, really short, and then they capture maybe even thousands of frames in a matter of like half a minute or something.
Yeah.
And then they get the transit. They can freeze it in time. Other people like to use videos, but they're essentially the same. What makes the difference is the shutter speed. So what is the ideal shutter speed? It's like 3 seconds. It just zips through absolutely, and then goes away.
So is the question, what is the shutter speed for shooting the illuminated transit of the ISS?
Yes.
All right. And just so I'm clear, illuminated transit, does that mean it's not necessarily... I've not heard that before. Is it not necessarily a silhouette against the moon? Is that what?
No, illuminated transits mean that the sun is actually shining onto the surface of the ISS, and
Yeah.
it reflects back, so you can see the ISS.
So it's not a
It's not
silhouette. Yeah.
illuminated. It's still there, but you just can't see it, and you have to rely on stuff like a ISS transit finder to find the exact, like it's nothing
right.
more than just a few seconds.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when it's illuminated, it just makes everything easier.
I gotcha. And when you take the photograph, will it be black? Will it be black against the moon?
Yeah, it will be black.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great question. Tricky, like this is like a proper mega nerd question. Let's see how our mega nerds do. Che.
What's your focal length and camera, and if you have any Barlows in place and that sort of stuff?
I won't use Barlows because my FOV will be like too small.
Yep.
I am planning on shooting at 1,500 focal length, millimeters of focal length.
And what's
with
your
a DSLR?
What's the?
Okay, so you'll get most of the moon then.
Oh, sorry, what's your F ratio?
The F ratio is f12.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That doesn't really matter.
Wait,
So what I would do, what camera?
It's a Canon Rebel.
Okay.
1100. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you call in the States.
I would try shoot a star that has a similar magnitude to the ISS transit, and to figure out how short you want the shortest exposure possible, right? Because it's moving and you'll have the atmosphere. You would, from memory, want around 30 milliseconds, but I don't know if you'll be able to achieve that with a DSLR. But find a star that has a similar brightness and see if you overexpose it.
Okay.
Cool. Alrighty. So that.
And yeah, don't shoot video. Shoot
but-
like single exposures too.
Okay.
Because
So I
video
should-
video will downsample, and
What?
you'll end up basically losing the ISS.
What? Sorry. What camera have you got? Because some of the videos, particularly like I know with my 600D, particularly if you went in times 5 magnification mode, which basically just used the center pixels, like a smaller. It's like it crops the sensor, if you like, and that actually videos with 1 pixel in your camera, ending up being 1 pixel of your video. It was an excellent way of filming with the 600D, filming planets and ISS. So, sorry, what was your camera again? Did you say a T3?
Yes, I am pretty sure. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the 1100.
1100D. I think we need to look that up because there's software that you can get. Actually, I'll yabber on about this at the end, but you've just made me think about it. Rogue Reversal, what do you think?
I'll be the first to admit that I only know planetary and ISS stuff from theory, having never really done it before. I pretty much do exclusively DSOs, but pretty much for the reasons that Shay mentioned, it sort of highlights why that realm is done with videos, like super high frame rate videos, because when you have such a short transit period, especially when you're talking about like a solar or lunar transit, right? You said it zips by, which is absolutely right. Being able to time it with a DSLR such that you can nail, assuming you have the right shutter speed down, and you can nail that exact moment. You're gonna for the mirror to flip up, the shutter to open, hoping you get the transit within that moment. Is something I think would be a challenge. So I don't want to misspeak, but it sort of just shows why you just do a quick super high frame rate video, which apparently now I learned you can do with the DSLR without it downsampling it in the camera.
Cool. Yeah. Maria, how about you? What do you think?
So I've never done this, but sort of agreeing with most of what's been said. A thing I would try and do is, and it's basically around the video capture side of things. If you think about it, you probably want a really short exposure. Your camera's probably your camera's buffer is going to run out very quickly, right? And you want to record for as long as you can for the instant that the ISS is going to transition. I would have a look at something like Magic Lantern. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's like a firmware you can load onto most Canon cameras, which might allow you for your specific camera. It's something you might have to look up. It might allow you to.
Astronaut sent it to me. Thank you.
It might allow you to capture RAW, which means you sort of get away from the compression stuff, and then obviously you would then have to try and get the right frame rate for the capture or the shutter speed. So, and you'd have to judge that against the background of the moon, say. Probably spend some time before the transition and try and get the right exposure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what I would do. Yeah.
I'm going to weigh in on this one. This is what you should do. You should use your 5x live view mode on your it's a T3, yeah? Because in 5x live view mode, it's a video mode. It very, very nearly does 1 pixel of the camera for 1 pixel of your video frame, right? So it's not downsizing, downsampling, compressing. It's very nearly, it's good. And I've done a similar thing with the 600. To get that 5x live view mode, you have to use software. I think there's a free Canon download software, which allows you to take video from using your computer to control the camera, or you can use EOS Backyard EOS to do it as well. I would definitely do that. I'd definitely do it on a video of 30 frames a second. And as the satellite is going to be a silhouette, you're going to expose for the moon. So you can practice on the moon and just get a nice exposure where the histogram is peaking like about 80% of the way to the top. And that, I think, would be your best settings. With that camera. And it should be really good, I think, when you get it.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
It's the first for me. I am shaking, so good luck.
Yeah, good luck. And do post it.
Okay.
I'd love to see the ISS go past. It's very exciting trying to do something like that with the ISS, because you see it coming up, it moves quite fast, doesn't it? And you'll see it coming, and it's like...
3 seconds, the whole thing. And it's...
But before, you're like, about 90 seconds before, you'll see it appear over the horizon. You'll be like, is it a plane? No, it's not. Oh, there it is. Oh my God, you'll get everything ready. And yeah, it's a great thing to do. So good luck with that. I hope we've answered your question. And
yes, you did.
Alrighty, excellent. Now, who else has got a question? Here we go. I'm inviting Balbu up to speak. Toaster, if anyone else has a question, please chuck them up. Balbu, hello. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm near the end of my Moscow Mule, which is nice. Hey, so whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Belgium.
Excellent. And biscuits in Belgium? Are they a big thing? Not a big thing?
Yeah, we got a lot of choice, but I like to keep basics and go with a cookie.
A basic cookie, like a chocolate chip cookie, or just a plain, just a classic plain melt in your mouth cookie?
That's it.
Yes, you're right. Actually, they are very good. Alrighty, so go ahead. What's your question?
So, it's a little bit of a personal opinion on this one, but take raw footage of Jupiter, for example. You center it, stack it, and sharpen it. Even make color corrections and change other stuff here and there. But can you still say it's exactly what you shot that night? Photoshoppers who work in advertising edit their footage to make it look better, but sometimes they go that far that it doesn't match the real thing they shot. At what point do you switch from hey, look at what I just shot that night, and look what I just processed. So where's the limit between real and reproduction of what it really looks like?
Yeah,
If you understood my question.
I think so. Yes, Maria, do you want to kick off on this one?
Oh dear. So again, never done this, right? But I guess it falls into like where, you know, in astrophotography generally, it's always it always is subjective to some degree, isn't it? And I don't think there's a rule. I think you know, it's something we put into that production. Be proud of be proud of your work. You know, if you think it looks good and you're happy with your result, I don't think you should let anybody tell you, well, it's not exact, or, you know, it's not true to life, etc. Right? So, yeah,
just go all out.
Well, yeah, go all out if that's what you like. You know, if that's what you're happy with, and you know, don't, you know. I think trying to aspire to truth and being exact, right? That's a huge effort, right? You need some, you know, you need to know that your equipment is, I don't know, specific and measured properly and calibrated properly, etc. I think it's an ideal that you probably, you know, have to spend a lot of money to get to. And at the end of the day, you know, is that really going to make you happy? I don't know. Just enjoy the hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about art, is it?
Yeah, to me it is. Yeah, to me it is. It's a very subjective. It's that's why I do the hobby.
All right.
Yeah,
that's a good answer.
Rogue Reversal, what do you reckon?
I would concur with what Maria said. I'm not a planetary expert by any means, but
it's in all of sections of astronomy. You can. It's a really general question, not only Jupiter.
I think there's some realms, I guess is a word to describe it, where, you know, when you're learning out, I think it's important to understand fundamentally when you're talking about processing, be able to distinguish between generally accepted good processing habits / behaviors. And if you pick that up, and there's too many to name off just individually, but if you can pick that up, then the rest of the world is yours in terms of just running away with how you want to process, especially when it comes to, in terms of DSO photography, narrowband imaging, and that's all about creativity and trying new color palettes, and you can go bicolor, tricolor, rainbow, or if you want, stick with monochrome H alpha, because even those images look great.
Yeah.
That's kind of big on it.
Yeah. Chi, what do you think?
For me personally, I try not to like paintbrush. Like when it's not like a universal like thing being done, when it's not like a universal script or like a process being applied, that's where I draw the line for the most part. So with like sharpening planetary, you're using the data of the planet to sharpen it. But if you're painting in detail, then you're not using the data, using your own like interpretation of it. And that can lead to some funky results. But that's my personal thing. If it makes you happy painting it, then by all means paint it. But I think with all astrophotography, you need to be transparent with how you edited it.
Yeah.
And but that just applies to everything. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think when it gets into the land of paint, I do use clone stamp to get rid of things sometimes I have something erroneous in my image, like a halo around a star or something like that, and I will do clone stamp to kind of mask that out a bit. I know that what's there isn't really there, and I'm just getting rid of it. I think that's okay. But when you do, as Chi says, when you actually start painting in highlights and stuff, I think that's no good. But yeah, sorry, Eagle, do you have any opinions on this? Because what you see is real, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the funny thing. If you want to see something as it really is, you put the eyepiece in. But then the thing is, with astrophotography and visual, astrophotography, you're already using a camera to see the universe with, and that's really awesome. But cameras are fundamentally different than human eyeballs. They can see a lot more. just because it's a camera and not these little blobby things that are inside of our skulls that are really bad at seeing at night.
Yeah.
So like the stuff you're seeing with the camera, you'd already not see it with your eyes. But in terms of with people processing stuff, I do like it. Because I don't really do any of this imaging stuff myself. I always like it when it's simple and tries to bring out what's actually there. And usually, most of the time, that's what people do. They're just gonna maybe enhance a little bit of what's already there, or maybe with their camera, they add a little more data to get a little more of what's already there. And most of the time, it ends up being just fine.
I think this is a super interesting question, actually. On the point of view of Jupiter, astrophotographers do try and keep their image, do like little images run. You have to do less than 3 minutes, essentially, because Jupiter will have spun too much after 3 minutes, and it will start blurring your image. And then people do like 5 3-minute chunks, and then they use something like WinJuPost to because every chunk the Jupiter will have rotated a bit differently, and they use a program called WinJuPost to derotate the image, and then you can get a sharper, less noisy image by having one image made up of 5 separate sort of chunks, if you like, of going at it.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, so with Jupiter particularly, I think that the kind of resolution that you need to see movement happening in a shorter time on Jupiter, like the clouds moving in a shorter time than 2 minutes, we're not quite at that resolution. So I think it's kind of okay. But more broadly, for all of the stuff that we do, is that essentially the human brain and mind and eyes aren't really set up, aren't really configured to understand what's going. The universe is at such a vast scale that really it's quite hard for us to we sort of interpret what we see, and when we process, we interpret what we see with kind of like a human eye. So I know a lot of people, when I used to look at shots of the North American nebula, it looks like there's 2 bright clouds with like a dark gap between them. But when and I'm sure this isn't just me, but for my personal journey, when I did some really deep imaging on it, I realized it was just one cloud with dark dust lanes going in front of it, right, which makes it look like 2 separate bright lumps. And I don't even know if those dark dust lanes are going in front of it, but my eye, the way my brain works, you sort of infer things, and it's kind of weird. When I'm processing, I kind of think, okay, that's in front of that, and that cloud's behind that, and I kind of try and bring out that element of things to make things feel 3D. But whether they really are, whether that cloud is in front of this one or behind that one, I actually don't know. It's
You brought up a good point that I wanted to echo on what Eagle and Shay also sort of alluded to, is that I think, especially when you're talking about photography, it's important. I think there's a distinction to be made between bringing out what's already there in the data versus creating in or painting in new things that may not have inherently been there. And I think there's a fine line there sometimes that you see with some images out there. Where I think a good habit that I personally have developed over the years is to find someone else's image who's like truly captured good data from dark skies, and kind of use that as a reference when I'm processing my own images, which has data that's not as of that good quality. So at least I know kind of where my processing should fall in terms of, okay, am I actually bringing out inherent data that's within my image, or am I now, is my mind thinking of something that might be there but isn't actually there?
There's potentially a little bit of a danger actually doing that. In the person who did the really great shot, it's possible that there was sort of a lighter area in the top right hand corner that they might have thought was just something screwing up in their telescope, right? So they might. It's quite easy for people to just change just by using grading, like, so not painting, but just using the way you grade things. And the way you get rid of vignetting and the way you try and flatten the image, it's
Yes, I agree. And I think that's where. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, like, for instance, Andromeda has a funny sort of fuzziness going on beneath it when you shoot it, right? I think it could be stars, a kind of, it's just glowing a bit brighter underneath it, right? And it doesn't look exactly that classical galaxy shape that we're all used to. And yet most people produce an image where it's, you know, that lovely oval. And you don't see that.
Very brown.
Yeah, but
Not blue.
But I suppose what I'm saying is people kind of do try and mimic what's been done before sometimes, and I'm not 100%.
Experience also comes into play, where just over time, as you develop your skills, you sort of get an eye for what, you know, should and shouldn't be there sometimes, depending on the object.
It's a super interesting question. Balbu, have we answered your question? Okay.
Yes, totally. Too much.
Okay.
It's a really good answer. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so listen, folks, I've actually got to go now, and the reason I have to go is because my voice carries through the house, and it keeps my daughters awake, and they've got like tests and exams and stuff this week. So I've promised to stop at 10 o'clock, but that doesn't mean that you guys have to stop. And in fact, we've got a couple of folks here who I'm going to invite up onto the stage. I'm going to invite Zaf and Jimmy the Chicken. And if any of our panelists want to leave, because we've been going for an hour, then please go ahead. I've got to go now. I'm going to end the video stream, but that doesn't mean that this is all ending. So for those who are watching on YouTube, thank you. I hope you learned some stuff. And thank you also to the people who've been asking the questions. I'm